The rain fell, washing the neon reflections across the wet pavement. But Ethan felt only the paralyzing cold emanating from the gallery window. He noticed only the light spilling outward and the two figures basking in it. Olivia was laughing. It was a deep, unburdened sound Ethan hadn't in Apo's. T realized he missed until it was directed at another man. Marcus Dempsey stood close, too close, his hand resting lightly on the small of her back as she gestured toward a painting. It was a gesture of intimate certainty, of earned ownership. Marcus was attentive, honest, available, everything Ethan had failed to be when it mattered most. This was the consequence. The final, crushing proof that the truth Ethan avoided telling her in the past had created the perfect space for his replacement. Ethan's fingers tightened against the phone in his jacket pocket, the ghost of the unsent message stinging his thumb. The lie he chose to perpetuate. He had traveled back in time. He had stood at the precipice of redemption, holding the power to change everything. And he had flinched. Seeing them together, realizing Marcus was not just a rebound but the true partner she deserved, was the punch that took Ethan's breath away. Everything he treasured, everything he traveled back to save, was now securely in the hands of the man who knew how to earn trust through vulnerability. He should have spoken. He should have ripped the bandages off the lie and accepted the immediate pain. Instead, he ensured this permanent, searing loss. It was all lost now. Maybe. A desperate resolve hardened Ethan's tired posture. He had to stop this. He had to reclaim the life he sacrificed for silence. But to understand the fight burning in him now, the manic hope against impossible odds, you have to go back to the precise moment he held the truth in his hands and chose to bury it. You have to understand the burden of the lie he carried forward, the day that sealed his doom. Ethan Calloway was a ghost haunting his own life. The return trip, the jump back in time he had desperately manufactured to fix everything, had only solidified his position outside Olivia and Apo's orbit. He woke up in the stale apartment he had shared with her 5 years ago, the silence deafening, realizing he was back to the chronological point of divergence. He had one chance to tell the truth about the financial secret that ultimately imploded their future. He had stood on the precipice, cell phone shaking in his hand, the message drafted. He had pressed the backspace button instead of send, Fear, raw and paralyzing, had won. He didn't and Apo's. T avoid the argument. He avoided the truth itself. That singular act of cowardice, the refusal to disrupt the past, ensured the original damage remained, perhaps even deepened. He had gone back in time, avoided the truth, and returned to the present day with the full knowledge that he was still the same broken man who had caused the ruin. Now, he lived in the periphery. His new job, a consultancy role under the harsh gaze of Daniel Rhodes, was a temporary cover for his obsession. He watched Olivia and Apo's apartment building. He tracked her movements, keeping a desperate, silent inventory of her life. She was living in the same neighborhood, but her light was different. The sadness was still there, etched around her eyes, a familiar pain he recognized as his own creation, but it was overlaid with a new layer of resilience. He saw her meet Grace Miller for coffee, her laughter sounding thin and unfamiliar, but undeniably present. His routine became simple: work, observe, regret. The world around them seemed unaware of the chronological gymnastics Ethan had performed. But for him, every street corner, every familiar sound, was a monument to the future he had thrown away. He carried the blue chill of guilt everywhere. Then Marcus Dempsey appeared. Marcus was a steady hum in Olivia's chaotic recovery. Ethan first noticed him delivering a package, a gesture of neighborly kindness. Then it became a shared dog walk. Then coffee. Marcus moved with an understated confidence that lacked Ethan's previous impulsiveness. He was always well-dressed, always calm, and critically, always listening. Marcus wasn't an Apo's. T trying to force his way into her life. He was simply accessible. He made honesty look effortless, a direct contrast to the mountain of lies Ethan felt he was perpetually climbing. The atmosphere of melancholy observation shattered on a Tuesday evening. This was the moment the ground beneath Ethan's feet gave way, transitioning his regret into panicked urgency. Ethan was parked 2 blocks away, hidden by the shadows of a large oak tree. Olivia and Marcus were sitting on a park bench near the illuminated bridge. The bridge was bathed in a soft golden light, creating a deceptive scene of hope that contrasted sharply with the cold blue guilt Ethan felt pressing against his chest. Ethan watched Olivia recount a story, her hands gesturing quickly, a sign of nervous energy he knew intimately. Marcus did not interrupt. He did not offer a quick fix or a joke to lighten the mood. He simply met her gaze, his posture conveying total, uncomplicated presence. Marcus was offering the space for her to exist fully, wounds and all. Marcus leaned forward slightly. Ethan couldn't and oppose. T hear the words clearly, the distance too great, but he could read the movement of Marcus's lips and the reaction of Olivia's face. Marcus wasn't an oppose. T defending himself or criticizing the past. He was acknowledging her pain. He was being exactly what Ethan had refused to be, honest and emotionally available. Marcus placed a hand lightly over hers. It was not a romantic gesture, not yet, but a silent pact of understanding. A foundation was being poured. In that instant, Ethan realized the horror of his mistake. He hadn't an oppose. T just destroyed his own chance. He had specifically created the vacuum that Marcus was filling. Marcus wasn't aggressively pursuing her. Marcus was meeting her where Ethan had abandoned her. The fight was not against a rival for her affection, but against a man who was proving himself worthy of the trust Ethan had betrayed. The calm facade Ethan had maintained fractured into splinters. This was not a friendly acquaintance. This was the establishment of deep confidence, the foundational layer of a new relationship, built on the sincerity that Ethan had suffocated with secrecy. Ethan gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles were white. The timeline had corrected itself, but with a terrifying alteration. He had managed to avoid the painful confrontation in the past, only to return to a future where another man was earning the emotional currency he had forfeited. He tried to rationalize the situation. Marcus was temporary. Olivia just needed a shoulder. But the certainty in Marcus's eyes, the quiet respect, screamed permanence. The soft gold light of the bridge felt like a spotlight on his failure. The next morning, Daniel Rhodes, Ethan's boss, called him into his office. Daniel, a tall man whose serious expression never wavered, sat behind a large mahogany desk. End quote. "Ethan, you are effective, but you are distracted." End quote. Daniel said without preamble. End quote. "You look like a man fighting a shadow." End quote. Ethan forced a neutral expression. End quote. "I am focused on the restructuring." End quote. End quote. "You are focused on a red-haired woman and a timeline you keep trying to bend." End quote. Daniel countered, his eyes dark. End quote. "I hired you to clean up a mess, not create a new one. This obsession with Olivia, it needs to end, or it needs to become productive. You have the truth. Use it. If you keep standing outside the glass, someone else will move inside the house and lock the door." End quote. The warning was clear, cutting through Ethan's self-pity. He had one advantage. He knew the future, and he knew the truth that caused the original rift. That truth was the only tool he had left. But that truth felt heavy, volatile. If he revealed it now, would Olivia see it as honesty, or a desperate, destructive ploy to reclaim territory she had already conceded? The urgency was a physical ache. Marcus was not the primary enemy. Ethan's own past failure was. And Marcus was winning the future by simply existing in the honesty Ethan had failed to claim. Ethan had to stop observing and start fighting the destiny he himself engineered, before Olivia completely forgot the ghost that used to be her greatest love. The quiet unrest became a desperate, primal need for confrontation. Ethan drove past her apartment complex for the 4th night. The blue light from his dashboard did little to hide the exhaustion on his face. He parked 3 blocks away, keeping the motor running. He was waiting for Marcus to leave. Marcus did not leave. Ethan saw the soft yellow light of her living room. He saw 2 silhouettes move behind the curtains. He recognized the shape of Olivia's head tilted back in what looked like laughter. That sound, that genuine, unguarded sound, was something Ethan hadn't heard directed at him in years. even before the catastrophic fallout that sent him back. He took out his phone. The screen displayed the draft text. "We need to talk. I need to explain the documents, the money, everything." He deleted it. He had tried talking. It ended in a polite dismissal. 2 days prior, Ethan had intercepted Olivia near their old coffee shop. He tried to invoke shared history, mentioning the small, ridiculous details of their past dates. "Do you remember the night we missed the last train and had to walk 8 miles in the rain?" Ethan had asked, trying to force a smile. Olivia paused, wrapping her arms around herself. Her eyes held a deep, unreadable sadness, overlaid with firm resolve. "I remember, Ethan. I remember the laughter. I also remember the mornings after, when I asked you simple questions and you looked everywhere but at me." Before Ethan could counter, Marcus appeared, carrying 2 cups of steaming coffee. He didn't look arrogant. He looked steady. "There you are, Liv. Your decaf, exactly how you like it," Marcus said, his voice calm, acknowledging Ethan with a nod that wasn't dismissive, just final. Olivia accepted the cup, a small, genuine smile reaching her lips. "Thank you, Marcus." Ethan stood frozen, the historical memory of the 8-mile walk dissolving into the crushing present of a decaf order handled by another man. The ease of their interaction was the sharpest blade. Marcus had mastered the routine details of her life that Ethan had neglected, the foundational architecture of trust. Desperation sharpened Ethan's focus. He needed leverage, something to break the calm exterior Marcus had built. He sought out Grace, Olivia's closest confidant, hoping to appeal to their shared concern for Olivia's well-being. Grace met him at a crowded downtown diner, deliberately choosing a table where discretion was impossible. She didn't look pleased. "What do you want, Ethan?" Grace asked, her voice low and hard. "I need you to understand. I'm not the man I was. I saw the future. I know what hiding that one piece of information did to her, to us. I came back to fix it." Grace leaned in, her eyes narrowed behind her glasses. "You didn't come back, Ethan. You woke up in the past and still made the exact same mistake when you had the chance to prevent it. You had the opportunity to save her the pain, and you chose silence. Again." She continued, hitting him where it hurt the most. "Marcus? He tells her everything, even the uncomfortable things. He showed her his financial instability before they even went on a 3rd date. He didn't want secrets. You hid millions of dollars in a shell corporation tied to that pharmaceutical deal and let her think you were struggling just to protect your ego. That is the truth you ran from. Don and Apos. T come to me for help. You Don and Apos. T deserve it." Ethan left the diner feeling colder than the night air. The guilt now had a clear outline. It wasn't Apos. T just that he hid the truth about the legal battle and the massive payout that resulted from his company's misconduct. It was the reason. He prioritized his professional image of the self-made man over her right to know. The pressure intensified the next morning when Daniel Rhodes summoned him to his office. "Callaway, the restructuring is finalized. The board wants to proceed with the internal investigation regarding the proprietary information leak from 6 months ago," Daniel stated, circling his large desk. Ethan swallowed, suddenly recognizing the precise timeline. 6 months ago was the period he had suppressed the corporate documents, the very action that had metastasized into the lie that ruined his personal life. "The board is asking about any external liabilities, Callaway. We need full disclosure. If there's any connection to that settlement you received, you have to be transparent. That information is going public soon, one way or another." The revelation hit Ethan hard. The truth he had desperately suppressed. The document confirming the company's negligence, which led to his massive settlement but also triggered the leak investigation, was about to surface publicly. He hadn't an Apos. T just lost Olivia because of his omission. He was about to lose his career and reputation due to the professional consequences of that same suppression. The 2 lives he tried to keep separate were collapsing together. The urgency became frantic. Ethan had to tell Olivia everything now, before the news headlines made him look like a liar who only confessed when cornered. He drove straight to Olivia's workplace, ignoring Grace's warnings and Daniel's threats. He found her just leaving, but she was not alone. Marcus was there, holding her hand loosely. "Olivia, we need to talk. Now. Everything." "I can't wait," Ethan demanded, his voice tight with fear. Olivia pulled her hand gently from Marcus's grasp. She looked at Ethan, not with anger, but profound pity. "There's nothing left to talk about, Ethan," she said softly. "Yes, there is. I know the full scope of what's coming, what the press is about to release about the settlement and the legal ramifications. I hid it because I was afraid of looking weak, of losing my independence. I know it's pathetic, but I'm telling you now, before anyone else does." Olivia remained still. Marcus watched Ethan with an expression that was empathetic, yet protective. "I appreciate the warning, Ethan," Olivia replied, her voice steady. Ethan felt a terrible, sick dread settle in his stomach. "You appreciate the warning? You should be furious. I lied for a year. I ruined everything." "You did ruin everything," Olivia agreed calmly. "But you're too late. Marcus already told me." Ethan froze, the color draining from his face. "What?" "Marcus works in legal research. He came across the documents related to the internal investigation last week. He pieced together the settlement, the suppressed report, and your professional anxiety. He told me everything he found, explained the conflict of interest, and why you likely kept it secret, not defending you but explaining the corporate structure that pressures people like you." Olivia looked at Marcus, a fragile confidence shining in her eyes. "He didn't wait for the press release. He trusted me with the truth you ran from. This was the final, fatal twist of the knife. Marcus hadn't and Apo's just been present. He had acted as Ethan and Apo's accidental replacement, the curator of the truth. Ethan's biggest revelation was not news to her. It was Marcus's offering. Ethan stepped back, physically reeling from the impact. The man he hated was not a rival. He was the honest messenger of Ethan and Apo's own failure. "Where is there left to go?" Ethan choked out, desperation turning to pure despair. Olivia looked down, then back up at him. "Their ISN and Apo's Ethan. I finally found someone who treats honesty as a baseline, not a Hail Mary pass." He watched Marcus gently place a hand on Olivia's shoulder. The contact was casual, intimate, earned. Ethan felt the urgency to fight even a lost cause. He needed one last, chaotic chance to articulate the pain of his memory, the regret that fueled his time travel. "I won't accept that. I remember the future we lost. You Don and Apo's know the full story. Meet me tonight, please. One final conversation. The bridge, sunset like we used to. If you won and Apo's I will tell the entire world about what I did to you, and I won't stop until you hear me." It was a manipulative, desperate plea, proving Grace right. Ethan was still fundamentally prioritizing his need for confession over her peace. Olivia sighed, closing her eyes for a moment. She looked weary, but she nodded curtly. "Fine, Ethan. The bridge. I will hear your entire story. Then, I need you to disappear." The cold air of the bridge did not soothe the burn in Olivia's eyes. The truth Ethan had finally spilled. The deliberate lie, the crucial omission that had destroyed their future, hung in the silence, heavy and devastating. "You came back," she said, her voice flat, devoid of the emotion Ethan so desperately craved to see. "And you hid it again. Even with the chance to fix everything, you chose the same path of silence." Ethan stepped forward, the blue light of the bridge reflecting the guilt etched on his face. "I was afraid, Olivia. I saw what hiding it did to us, and I was terrified that telling you would make you run away sooner. You didn't trust me, Ethan. That's what it comes down to." She looked away, toward the city lights that seemed steady and predictable, unlike the man standing opposite her. "Marcus didn't have to fight to tell me the truth. He just told me. He had nothing to lose," Ethan countered, his voice cracking with rising desperation. "I had everything and I threw it away. Don't you see? I lived through the consequence of that lie. I saw the ruin. I came back to this moment, to you specifically because I knew I had to tell you this exact thing. This is me fighting for us." "No," Olivia whispered, finally turning back, her eyes shining with unshed tears. This is you fighting for your own peace. You needed to confess to clear your conscience. But the fight was over months ago, Ethan. The war was already lost the moment you decided my peace was less important than your comfort. The intensity of her clarity hit him harder than any blow. She was right. His motivation, even now, was rooted in selfishness, a frantic effort to reclaim what he believed was his due. He grabbed her arm gently. But I changed. Seeing you with him, seeing the future I wrecked, it forced me to be the man you deserved. Give me the chance to prove that the past is over. Olivia pulled her arm back. The past is never over, Ethan. It's what created this moment. You spent months building a wall between us with silence. Marcus spent those same months tearing down the wall I built to protect myself, using only honesty. He showed up every time. He never ran from a hard conversation. The name Marcus was a knife twisting in the wound. Ethan pictured Dempsey's steady presence, his easy smile, the unwavering confidence he radiated. Everything Ethan was not. He doesn't know you like I do, Ethan pleaded. He doesn't know the history, the depth. He knows the version of me that exists now, she cut in sharply. The woman who needs consistency, not chaos. The woman who doesn't need a man to crash and burn just to realize her value. Ethan fell silent. He saw the cold logic in her eyes, a logic hardened by his own betrayal. What happens now, Olivia? He managed to ask, the tension draining out of him, replaced by a terrible realization that he had failed the second chance. Olivia took a slow breath, looking out over the water. The moment of climax, the fiery confrontation he expected, was replaced by a quiet, devastating finality. I fought for us for a long time, Ethan. I fought against your shadows, your secrets, your refusal to communicate. I'm tired. I can't live my life waiting for you to decide when it's safe to be honest. She turned to leave, walking toward the end of the bridge, toward the darker side of the street where fewer lights shone. Ethan watched her go, paralyzed. This was the resolution he had earned, the tragic payoff of his fatal flaw. He hadn't just lost Olivia in the future. His actions in the past had ensured he would lose her in this altered timeline too. His desperate return had only solidified his fate. He called out one last time, a voice filled with utter defeat. Olivia, what about us? She paused, but didn't turn around. Her response was clear and quiet, carried on the cold night wind. There is no us, Ethan. Not anymore. There's just the past, and I'm choosing to walk away from it. She continued walking until she reached the corner, where a familiar figure stood waiting, Marcus. Marcus didn't rush her. He simply opened his arms, and Olivia walked directly into the safety they offered. No hesitation, no regret. Ethan stood on the illuminated bridge, watching the golden light fade into the cold blue shadow of his solitude. He had traveled back in time, avoided the truth, and returned to find another man earning her trust. He realized that the fight was never against Marcus. It was always against the consequence of his own silence. He had arrived too late to save the relationship, but just in time to watch her find her true future. A future he was not a part of. The silence that followed their departure was absolute, heavy with the weight of lost love and the undeniable justice of the universe. He had been given a second chance, and he failed to use it wisely, proving that sometimes the damage is irreversible no matter how desperately we try to rewind the clock. The tragic truth was, Ethan had lost her twice, both times due to his own fear of honesty. I know this story is intense, and that is exactly why I share these moments. If you value the truth and like stories that make you think and feel, do this. Consider subscribing to the channel and comment what city you are watching from. It is the best way to ensure you do not miss the next life lesson. Ethan walked away from the bridge, the harsh blue lights of the city reflecting the cold emptiness he felt. He had fought the past, fought Marcus, and fought the cruel irony of fate, only to realize he was fighting the man he used to be. And that man was already defeated. He drove aimlessly for hours, the image of Olivia's face. Not the devastated face from the truth reveal, but the calm, assured face she wore when she looked at Marcus, burned into his mind. It wasn't Apo's hatred he felt for Marcus. It was a devastating, clinical admiration. Marcus had simply done what Ethan was too afraid to do. Show up, consistently, and without reservations. A week passed in a blur of forced work and silence. Daniel, his boss, saw the shell Ethan had become. He didn't offer pity, only a sober nod. And quote, "You faced it, Ethan," and quote. Daniel said one afternoon, looking out over the traffic. And quote, "You got the truth out. That's more than you did the first time." And quote. And quote. "It didn't in Apo's matter," and quote. Ethan replied, the words flat. And quote. "The timing was the only thing that mattered. The truth came out when she needed protection, not pain." End quote. Ethan knew he couldn't in Apo's stay in the city, not yet. He had to sever the last thread of hope, the dangerous delusion that time could be reversed. He found himself outside Olivia's favorite cafe late one autumn afternoon. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of burning leaves. He stayed in his car, hidden in the shadow of a large oak tree. He wasn't there to intervene or talk. He was there to observe the consequence of his actions, to ensure that the sacrifice he unknowingly made was worth the price. Olivia appeared, laughing. She was wearing a soft, golden yellow sweater, a stark contrast to the melancholy blue that had followed her for months. Beside her, Marcus held a paper bag containing what Ethan recognized as her favorite pastry. Marcus touched the small of her back as they navigated the crowded sidewalk, a gesture of ownership and protectiveness that was earned, not demanded. They paused by a park bench. Olivia leaned into Marcus as he spoke, her eyes not filled with passion, but with something far deeper and more resilient: trust. She trusted the stability he offered. She trusted that when the hard truths came, he would handle them with her, not hide them from her. Ethan watched as Marcus tucked a stray strand of red hair behind her ear, a simple, tender act. In that moment, Ethan realized he wasn't Apo's looking at a relationship built on fiery intensity and dramatic conflict. He was looking at the future he destroyed, rebuilt with stronger foundations by another man. Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. The screen lit up, showing the date 2 years ago, the exact day he woke up in the past. He opened the draft message he had written then, the detailed, terrified confession he never sent. He read the words, tasting the metallic tang of his original fear. He held the phone tightly, then pressed the delete button. The confession vanished, replaced by a blank screen. It was not a grand gesture of letting go, but a quiet, final surrender to the reality he had created. He deleted the past because the future he saw, Olivia's true happiness, was too vivid to deny. He started the engine, pulling away slowly. He didn't Apo's look back. The man who had entered this time loop desperate to fix his life was leaving it having fulfilled the true purpose, ensuring Olivia was safe, even if it meant being safe from him. The journey of Ethan Callaway ends not in triumph, but in profound silence. He didn't save his relationship, he saved her. He became the villain of his own story so she could become the hero of hers. He had to accept that sometimes love is not about possession, but about relinquishing control and welcoming the fate you deserved. This story, I think, holds a universal truth, a lesson carved deep by the pain of a man who looked back when he should have looked forward. The greatest tragedy in life is not the mistakes we make, but the truths we hide out of fear of their immediate consequence. Ethan believed that omitting a terrible truth would protect their perfect life. But omission is not protection. It is a ticking clock. When the clock runs out, the truth doesn't Apo's just damage the relationship. It eradicates the trust entirely. Regret is a luxury that only the swift and honest can afford. Ethan spent his time fighting the symptoms, the loss, the new rival, instead of curing the disease which was his own cowardice. He learned, far too late, that honesty is not a weapon to be used only when backed into a corner. It is the fundamental currency of a lasting connection. When he saw Marcus, he saw the mirror image of the bravery he lacked. Marcus was present, consistent, and transparent. He offered Olivia the solidity Ethan's instability had stripped away. Ethan's late confession was an apology for pain already inflicted, Marcus's presence was a promise of pain to be avoided. And that is why, in the end, the woman chooses the security of the present over the chaotic apology of the past. Olivia chose the man who honored her dignity by treating her with complete openness, rather than the man who forced her to fight for the truth. Ethan lost the love of his life, but he gained clarity. He understood that true redemption isn't and oppose. Getting back what you lost. It is accepting the cost of your errors and moving forward as a better, more honest man, even if that improved version of yourself can no longer be with the person who taught you the lesson. Remember this: the future is decided not by the grand, sweeping actions of fate, but by the small, silent choices we make every single day. If you have a truth to tell, tell it now. Because the moment you hesitate, the universe starts preparing someone else to step into the space you vacated, a man or woman who is simply braver than you are. Ethan Calloway disappeared into the anonymity of the city, carrying only the memory of a love he destroyed and the solemn knowledge that Olivia was finally safe. He had played the game of time travel and lost, but in losing her, he finally found himself. Now, I want to know from you. Comment here underneath. What would have been your choice in Ethan's place? Would you have made that sacrifice? And if you like surprising endings, I left another video right here next to this one. It inapos es a shocking story. Click on it. We'll meet again in the next video.